Arthur, so you've been a China scholar for 40 years, I guess, or something close to that. And I think you bring a very, very interesting perspective to everything that's happening in China and in Hong Kong right now. As it would happen, the Senate just passed unanimously the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act. And I noticed that the U.S.-Chinese embassy responded, and I'm actually going to read to you the response. They said...
The U.S. embassy or the Chinese embassy?
Chinese embassy in the U.S. responded.
They both responded, okay.
Right. And Chinese embassy in the U.S. said, the passage of the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act is very disappointing. The democracy and human rights held so dearly by the American people are once again abused by some American politicians to justify violence and disorder. Do they want to side with the rioters? And then all caps, sad. What do you make of this?
Well, this is boilerplate. I mean, this is what the communists write in their papers. But the problems in Hong Kong, including the riots, all go back to the absolute refusal, absolute hard-line refusal of the authorities, that includes the Hong Kong government and the Chinese government, to engage, even to recognize the grievances of the people of Hong Kong, who were promised certain things in 1997 and in 1984 before that, which have not been delivered. And China was attempting to extend the reach of its secret police into Hong Kong, and the people of Hong Kong rose up. If the Chinese had followed the promises they made in 1997, the only people marching in Hong Kong would be maybe once every 2 years, people walking to a polling place to vote.
Okay.
The whole origin of this crisis is disastrous decision-making by the communist authorities, and then their failure to understand this and to let it protract.
Arthur, you probably are aware another thing that happened last night, as it would happen, is these masked thugs actually broke into the printing press where the Epoch Times in Hong Kong is being printed. They looked a bit like they were dressed like protesters. A few of them were wielding batons. We have CCTV footage, which I'm going to put up while I'm speaking right now, so people can see it for themselves. And they actually set fire to the place.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, no one was hurt. Luckily, the staff were able to put it out. Based on your experience, what do you make of this?
Well, I mean, the first question is, who are the people who did this? And it could be that they are protesters who are confused. But one of the features that we have seen and dramatized in Hong Kong is the close collaboration between the Chinese mafia, or the triads, and the government. And this is quite common. This is how it worked in the Soviet Union too, that there is close collaboration between organized crime and government, particularly in dealing with non-central places. So I suspect that these people are triads, and these are very, very nasty people.
Tell us a little more about the triads and how they operate in Hong Kong.
Well, the triads are a secret society, very similar to criminal societies in other countries, and they rely on a system of blood oaths and, the mafia code of omerta, that you never say anything, and they're very, very tightly organized.
So how is it that the Hong Kong government is working with the triads?
Because the triads provide violence.
Okay.
And the Hong Kong, until recently, has been trying to somehow bring this to an end without killing people, without hurting people, and all the rest. But there have been a couple of incidents where people dressed in white have come and beaten people up and so forth. And this is the triads in action. if you decide that you're not going to consult the population that you're ruling at all, then the only way that you can keep them in line is to keep them scared. And a properly regulated police force, which is what Hong Kong had until recently, is not enough to keep people scared. But if you have triads jumping on people and kidnapping people and beating people up sort of off the books, then people become quite terrified.